Hey, what's up, Hope Shot family? Welcome back to our Addiction to Success series, where tonight we're going to hear Hunter share his story of his recovery journey. And if you guys are jumping on, go ahead and say hi. I'm just going to read the clarity statement real quick. And Hunter, hey, I tagged you in that, so just to let you know, so you can do that real quick.
All right.
All right, so. All right. We here at the Hope Shot are a group of people in recovery spreading inspiration. We come from all different walks of life and pathways of recovery. Our verbiage may be different at times, but we all have one thing in common: recovery is a lifestyle. We support all pathways of recovery. It doesn't matter how you get from A to Z, just get there. Thank you for being a part of our family. And we got some people on here. What's up, Stephanie, Ariana, Jerry, Rachel? And we got Jerry again. So tonight we're gonna hear Hunter's story. So I'm gonna give it over to him and let him kick it off. And go ahead, Hunter.
Am I able to see the comments so I can respond to people too? Oh, I can't hear you.
Yeah, I know. I pressed mute. I don't think you can on the phone.
Yeah.
But you might be able to. I don't know if you can see that down there, but I don't think you can on the phone.
I can see it. I can see it.
Okay.
All right. Yeah, I'm Hunter Shepard, and I'm a recovering addict from Parkersburg, West Virginia. If you know anything about West Virginia, you know that it is the epicenter of the opiate epidemic. It's not uncommon for people where I'm from to start using drugs at a young age. So I fell into a pattern of drug abuse and also incarceration at 12 years old. The first time that I smoked weed and drank alcohol was 12 years old. I was also suffering from mental health, and I had like severe depression from a very early age, and I also had ADHD. So I was prescribed to stimulants from a very young age. So just a mixture of medication, mental health, substance abuse, and being arrested for the first time at 12 years old. It was it was a good path to self-destruction from very early on. By the time that I was 14 years old, I was smoking and drinking every day, and I lost my childhood best friend. He had been my best friend from the age of 4. He passed away from a drunk driving wreck. He was a passenger in a car with somebody that was drunk driving. So I had to see my best friend on a ventilator, and very, not himself, at 14 years old, and it traumatized me. So that pushed me even further, it pushed me further into, a depression, and further into my drug use. And it made me even angrier at the world. I started to be violent, with me and my dad would fight a lot. So I was violent toward my dad. And really what it was is he just wanted me to be sober. He saw the path that I was headed down. So I was on probation, and I got arrested for a lot of probation violations. And by the time that I turned 16, I was already on felony juvenile probation in the state of Ohio. And I was pretty much on my last chance before I went to juvenile prison in Ohio, which is called the Ohio Department of Youth Services. And I continued to smoke weed, and I continued to be aggressive toward my dad. And I had already done like 11 months in a juvenile program for felons. So I had lots of chances, and I continued to push my luck. And I got into trouble, and I knew that I was going to go to juvenile prison. Right around the time that I was turning 17, I knew that I was going to juvenile prison. So I stole all of the electronics out of my house, and I went on the run, and I sold those electronics, and I did heroin for the first time. I did heroin for the first time at 16 years old or 17 years old, roughly right around there. And the next day I got arrested because I had warrants and I went to juvenile prison. So really all that did was introduce me to people from the inner cities that had better drugs and cheaper drugs. And I just made bad connections, you know? And by the time I got out, I was on juvenile parole and I really didn't want to go back, but I still wanted to get high. So at the time, that was when K2 and Spice was like really, really blowing up in the United States. It was legal at that time, and it didn't show up in a drug test. And I started smoking it, and it actually became more physically addictive than any other substance that I've ever been on. And yeah, so I got very, very physically addicted to K2. And then I met somebody that made K2, so I was getting it for very, very cheap. So I became extremely dependent on it, and I was passing drug tests. Right around this time, I met my daughter's mother, who was also an addict, who was doing the smoking K2 with me, and she got pregnant, and my daughter was born. So at 19 years old, my daughter was born, and I was a full blown addict. And right around the same time, the K2 had became illegal, and it became harder to get. So so whenever it became harder to get, I stopped caring about passing the drug test for my parole officer, and it was strictly about getting high. And it's crazy. When my daughter was born, she looked at me and she smiled. She wasn't even crying. Like she literally, like as soon as she was born, she looked me in my face and had the biggest smile. And you think that that would be enough right then to make me not want to get high, but I was literally in the parking lot within hours, getting high. That's just the power of addiction. That puts it perfectly for me. So. In between 19 and 21, I was really deep into psychedelics, and I was getting really deep into an addiction to heroin. And by the time I turned 21, actually on my 21st birthday, I did meth for the first time. And I thought that I was like functioning. In my opinion, there's never a functioning addict, but in my mind, I was functioning. I could still, hustle and do the things that I did to get high. But then I introduced meth into the equation, and it went downhill very quickly for me. So, I went from selling and hustling and being able to like come up with drugs to just like straight robbing people to get my high, and I put myself in a lot of really, really bad situations because of it. And so in between 21 and 23, the meth had like really broke me down, and I was like desperately trying to get clean. But the first rehab that I went to, it was like a complete like faith-based rehab that had no funding, and I literally just went there, and it was in Alabama, and it was like 90 degrees, the middle of the summer. They had no air conditioning, no detox meds, and I just like straight detoxed in this like super hot place. It was brutal, and I stayed clean for a few months, and then I went back home to West Virginia, and I relapsed. And that was just the beginning of a cycle of rehab, relapse, rehab, relapse. And I didn't have a program. I didn't know. I knew what the 12 steps were, but I didn't even try to like grasp like what they meant. I never like truly got a sponsor and took their direction. And in that 2-year period in between 21 and 23, it was just like this vicious cycle where I would like get sober in rehab, and I would feel amazing, and life would be great, and I would get a girlfriend, and I would get a job, and like I had everything that I wanted, and I thought that that's what mattered. And then I would move back to West Virginia because I thought that I would be fine, and then I would relapse. And then finally, At 23 years old, I relapsed for the last time. I relapsed for the last time, and within a matter of 3 weeks, I lost 45 pounds. I lost 45 pounds. I picked my whole like compulsive picking for meth, picked my whole entire body, like literally everywhere. Um, I hadn't ate, I hadn't slept, like I was like completely delirious already. And then this girl that I had robbed a few years before for $200 decided to put Flocka into the drugs that I was doing. And at that time, I was an IV drug user. Um, so I injected like, I don't even know how much it was. It was a lot. I did way more than what somebody would to use it to get high to have a good time or what, you know. I don't see how you could use Flocka for a good time, but you know, I injected like a lot of it, and I was like instant psychosis for 3 days. It was the most painful mental and painful physical experience that I've ever had. My parents came and got me. I was in psychosis. I like literally didn't know who I was, where I was. I had no idea what was going on. And my parents literally took care of me for 3 days at 23 years old. You know, my dad literally helped me get into the shower and like put like Epsom salts in there to help me like try to detox my body, and like literally took care of me for 3 days. I slept in between my parents for 3 days straight at 23 years old. Like I was like a 23-year-old child. Um, and whenever I came out of it, the drugs had completely destroyed my body. But on top of that, um, it also I was in withdrawal, you know, so I was withdrawing and the drugs destroyed my body, and I was just like completely done. You know, that's where I surrendered, and I decided to take rehab and then recovery serious. And I went to California, and I went to treatment. I went to sober living. I got a sponsor. I worked the steps, and I've been sober ever since. You know, um, and I've been able to, you know, live a life beyond anything I ever imagined. I mean, I literally, you know, I share my story, and it reaches people worldwide. You know, I get to travel. I have the freedom to travel. Like anytime I tried to travel before, like automatically I would end up in like the worst neighborhood possible looking for drugs. Like there was no like enjoying traveling. There was no like really even funds to travel. Like I couldn't do anything. Like it was all centered around the use of drugs, no matter where I was. And now I can go to places like England or the Caribbean where I just got back from and like enjoy it for what it is, you know? And yeah, I mean, it's just life is absolutely a blessing now, and it's not a burden. I don't feel like living every day is a burden, you know? I feel like living every day is a blessing. So that's it.
Short and sweet.
Yeah.
Hey man, so let me do a little backstory on how I met you. I met Hunter um, on Facebook, evidently, but he moved here to where I live, and he posted some of his pictures of his before pictures before he found recovery, and I was like, "Damn, boy," because you weren't lying when you said you picked. I mean, you guys seen a picture on the cover photo for the event that we just did tonight, and that's some serious you know drugs. What drugs will do to you is just insane. You know what I mean? And
Yeah.
I got the same kind of pictures, dude, where I have sores on my face and from picking, and it's just crazy. And so I seen his pictures on there, so I messaged him, and we've been talking ever since. And so I want to hear you been to England. So how did you end up in England? Let's hear that story and all that. And you just had a baby too.
Yeah. So what happened was I was actually sharing my story into I'm not going to say which group because I don't want people to think that that's where you should find like love or anything. But I was sharing, I was sharing my story into a Facebook recovery group, and my now fiance, she was sharing her story into the same group. And I don't know, I was earlier in recovery, so of course I'm just like this, like I probably wasn't well at the time, and I thought that she was cute. I was like, oh, all right, so I'm gonna send her a friend request, and then we actually stayed friends for like over a year. And she posted something during the quarantine, like some little funny like thing, like being single in quarantine or something. And I commented on it, and we just like started talking, and like it just kind of like blew up from there. Like things happen really fast. Like, you know, I feel like we've like fell in love before we ever met. And then I decided to go visit her in England, and you know, it just went from there. I mean, our story has, she's a recovering alcoholic, and our story has just like blown up all over the world. I've been able to share like how we met, and what we both went through, and also how dramatically different, like her being an alcoholic in England versus me being like a, you know, heroin and meth addict in the United States. Also how different the addiction is in both places, and also recovery in both places. Um, yeah, so you know, she got pregnant very fast, which has been a blessing to us. You know, we just had our son; he's 4 months old, and yeah, it's been amazing. I mean, we've had a lot of like tests on our recovery throughout it. You know, whenever he was born, he had a birth defect, and it was very serious. Luckily, we were in England, and they have the NHS, and it was like amazing. You know what I mean? Like they literally took care of him. It was great. Um, so we made it through that. We made it through all the travel restrictions. We made it through, you know, having to go to the Caribbean, which a lot of people, you know, in the Caribbean, they party pretty hard down there. So we stayed sober through like all of that. And, you know, we're here now. It's been amazing.
Yeah. And so how was it? Because I know you had troubles getting back and forth from the UK to here. So like, and having the newborn and being in the NICU and all that stuff. But how, like, because I remember you saying that you couldn't get back here because of the whole quarantine thing once you went over there.
Yeah, it was crazy. Like even now, like she's just like they're just here visiting, you know, like she hasn't been able to like she's never been to America. This is her first time in America. Um, this is her first time in America, so they're just visiting right now, trying to figure out, you know, what the future looks like and stuff like that, you know. But we had to like really navigate through that because it has been pretty much impossible until recently for us to even come here for a visit, you know.
Yeah, because I remember you were stuck over there, and it's like you don't know when you're coming back. That must be a little crazy, you know.
Um, Tiffany, that's your wife, right?
That's my wife. Yeah, yeah.
So in England, recovery, like the 12 steps, is very, very strong. That is a very, very strong community. But treatment isn't as available there. So, I mean, it's like really, really hard to get treatment, find the right place, and then most of the time you end up on a waiting list. So, like, it is much different in the areas of like detoxing and stuff like that, which, as you know, for like alcoholics or somebody that's like addicted to benzos, like makes it a little bit harder, you know?
Yeah, definitely, because you need that medical detox for stuff
Yeah,
like that, because that's the worst one you can come off of.
100%.
Yeah. So you can see these comments?
Yeah, I can see them one at a time.
Okay, great. Yeah, I was just wondering because I haven't been on a phone to be able to see it. You know what I mean? So I'm on a laptop, so I can see it all, and I got the program. So some people can, and some people can't.
Yeah, if anybody's asking questions, I'd like to answer them.
Yeah, if anybody has any questions for him, you know, you can comment, and we'll post them up, and he'll answer them.
I think I told my story a little too quick. I had some coffee earlier, so I'm like,
No, you know, and it's pretty cool that you got clean at a young age. You know what I mean? You said what, you're 23 when you
yeah,
got.
yep. And I just turned 27, so coming up on 4 years.
Yeah, we're very close on
Yeah.
our dates, and it's pretty
Yeah.
cool. You know, so getting young, I mean, getting clean young, so it must have progressed really fast, huh?
Yeah, no, definitely. Like, you know, and the thing is, I tried to get sober even younger, you know, like meth like really, really brought me to my knees, you know. What was the one thing that made you Want to get clean and sober. My moment of clarity was that girl poisoning me. You know, my dad. Whenever my dad went to put me on the plane, to send me to treatment, he literally looked me in my face and said, "Do you want to be buried or do you want to be cremated?" And like I really realized, like, if I don't stop, like, I'm gonna die. And even if I don't die, I'm miserable. You know, like I can't live like this anymore. And you know, it really woke me up.
Yeah, and that's one thing is that I didn't get. Krista says so. Technically, you all are the same age. Yes, mentally. And that's the truth because you know, just like you said earlier, it's like you know, I forget what you said, but like you were a 23-year-old baby. You know what I mean? And that's exactly where we are. You know, is we're still in that mentality when we started to use. We're in the same mentality. So I'm like what 15 right now. So because I started using at 12, and it was I got clean at 35. So
Yeah,
you know, some of us take a little longer.
yeah. That's all right though. That's all right
Yeah.
though.
Yeah. Let's see. Can you see that?
Yeah. You know, really, like I'm not tempted by any of it. You know, it's whenever you get to a certain point in recovery, you have freedom from the temptations and the urges. Like, you know, I have freedom from the obsession to use drugs, and that's in every case, even with alcohol, you know. Well, you know what? That sometimes there is a mental struggle. You know, I'm not gonna say that every day is perfect, you know, like just because I took the drugs, you know, the drugs from my life, I still have depression and anxiety and ADHD, and that's just stuff that you learn to you learn to cope with. Like aside from you know working the steps and being involved in a program and helping people, which is where I find my freedom from addiction. You know, my what I use to cope with mental health stuff is really the gym. Like whenever I don't take care of my body, I feel terrible and I start to experience like depression and anxiety. But if I'm in the gym and I'm eating right, which is a struggle for me, eating right is a huge struggle for me. Um, but whenever I am eating right and I'm in the gym, like I feel great. I'm completely free from like anxiety and depression and stuff like that.
Yeah, and that's the truth is the eating right, man. Because listen, I was going to the gym for a while, bro. Like, I mean, I just actually, my wife sent me a picture today of me 3 years ago when I first got in recovery. I went to the gym, man. I was doing good. I was eating good, and I was looking good, you know. And then now I got life preserver on because you know life just sometimes it gets life gets busy, right? And certain things have to go, you know. And that's one thing that went. And I'm trying. It's hard to get back into it, but it's the eating, man. It messes with your mind as well. The mental, it really does.
Yeah. Definitely the gym. Definitely the gym. But sometimes I sabotage myself because I love drinking coffee, but it gives me anxiety. So like even if I go to the gym, I'm still like, you know what I mean? Still anxious.
Yo, I got a coffee problem too. Don't worry, man. You're not alone. She says thank you.
Yeah.
We got
Yeah. So and you know what? You said do you work in recovery? So in my opinion, recovery is separate from treatment. But yes, I do work in treatment. Um, you know, recovery, what do I do to strengthen my recovery? I mean, I help other people. I think that's where you find freedom. You know, one alcoholic or addict helping another is without parallel. So I spend every day dedicating my life to helping those that are still struggling and their families as well. Yeah, I mean, this is what I do full time. So, you know, yeah, yeah.
all right, and then we just got a couple that says, "Oh no, not the coffee." Scott, what's up, Scott? He says, "What? Hey, brothers, And Jamie says, yes, exactly, coffee. And then we got Chandler on here. Hey, guys. She's in the UK, actually.
Oh.
Yeah, it's probably, what, 1 o'clock in the morning there? I think it is.
Yeah, it's dirty.
So I guess that's it for tonight. Thank you guys so much for being here on this episode of Addiction to Success. I don't know why it's so hard for me to say the addiction part, but it's like a tongue twister. So, hey, and guys, listen, I'll have these shirts here in the next week. We got dry fits coming in, and they're going to be amazing. We have some gold ones. We have pink metallic, blue metallic. We got different shirts coming in. So if you guys want to buy a shirt, just hit us up. It all goes to a good cause. And thank you guys for being here. And this Sunday, we're going to have our topics. Sunday at 8 p.m. we go live on Facebook, and we'll have a topic that we think about during the week, and we share about it. And you never know, we might have Hunter on here in the next maybe a couple weeks, man. You come on and go on this topics with us on a Sunday, man. It'd be cool.
Definitely. Absolutely. Well, I'm on the same time zone as you now, so.
Yeah, right?
You're right up the road, so.
Yeah, it makes it a lot easier. Well, thank you guys for being here, and we'll see you Sunday. Good night.